Locusta of Gaul. In the 1st century AD, a woman named Locusta operated openly in Rome as a professional poisoner. She was not a hidden criminal. The Roman Empire employed her directly. Emperors paid her to eliminate their rivals. Locusta came from Gaul, likely captured and brought to Rome as a slave. By the year 54 AD, she was already imprisoned on poisoning charges when Empress Agrippina the Younger sought her services. The empress wanted her husband, Emperor Claudius, removed. According to the historian Tacitus, Locusta poisoned mushrooms served at dinner. Claudius became ill and attempted to vomit using a feather, a common practice. The feather had also been soaked in poison. He died on October 13th, 54 AD. Nero, Agrippina's son, became emperor. The following year, Nero wanted his stepbrother Britannicus eliminated. Britannicus had a stronger claim to the throne. Nero called on Locusta again. She was still in prison. The first poison she prepared acted too slowly. Nero became enraged and flogged her himself. She quickly produced a faster-acting mixture. At an imperial dinner, servants brought Britannicus a hot drink. A food taster tested it and found no poison. Britannicus ordered it cooled. The servants added poisoned water. According to Suetonius, Britannicus collapsed immediately after drinking. He convulsed and died at the table. Nero claimed it was epilepsy. Nero rewarded Locusta with a full pardon in large country states. He sent students to learn from her, establishing what historians describe as a school for poisoners. Her exact number of victims remains unknown. Ancient sources describe her involvement in numerous deaths, but provide no confirmed count. After Nero's self-unaliving in 68 AD, the new emperor Galba arrested Locusta, along with other members of Nero's inner circle. Cassius Dio wrote they were the scum that had come to the surface in Nero's day. She was led through Rome in chains and game-overed in 69 AD, Gilles de Rais. In 1432, children began disappearing from villages across northwestern France. They were peasants, mostly boys between 7 and 15 years old. Parents searched for them, authorities took no action. The children vanished near the castles of Gilles de Rais, a wealthy nobleman and marshal of France. De Rais had fought alongside Joan of Arc during the 100 Years' War. He owned multiple castles and commanded 200 knights. His wealth made him nearly untouchable. For 8 years he operated without serious investigation. Servants lured children to his castles with promises of food and work. According to trial testimony, De Rais gave them very uncomfortable times before ending their lives. His valets, Henriette and Poitou, later testified they helped dispose of bodies through burning. Witnesses reported hearing screams from castle towers. Parents complained their children had gone missing after approaching De Rais's estates. Nobody with power listened. De Rais's activities were hidden by his noble status until May 1440. He abducted a cleric named Jean Le Ferron from a church following a property dispute. The Bishop of Nantes could not ignore this violation. An investigation began. Authorities searched De Rais' castles and found evidence. Testimony from servants described years of crimes. On October 13, 1440, the ecclesiastical court charged De Rais with murdering 140 children or more. The exact number was never determined. In his confession, documented in trial records, De Rais stated he had taken so many children he could not determine with certitude the number whom he'd killed. Under threat of being sent to a very uncomfortable time chamber, De Rais confessed on October 21st. The trial transcript records his admission to everything charged. His servants Henriette and Poitou also confessed to their roles. On October 26, 1440, Gilles de Rais was game-overed by hanging outside Nantes alongside his two accomplices, Peter Niers. Between 1566 and 1581, travelers disappeared along highways in southern Germany. Peter Niers led a gang of bandits who robbed and killed on remote roads. He was born around 1540 during a period of violence following the German Peasants' War. Niers operated with rotating accomplices. They ambushed travelers in isolated areas. Murder rates in Germany were extraordinarily high during this era. Records show killings accounted for 11 to 15% of all crimes in the 1570s and 90s. In 1577, authorities captured Niers in Gersbach. Under a very uncomfortable time, he confessed to 75 murders. He escaped before being game-overed. Over the next 4 years, pamphlets circulated describing his crimes. Writer Johann Wick published accounts that included claims of supernatural abilities and cannibalism, typical of 16th century crime literature. In early September 1581, Niers stayed at an inn in Neumarkt. He visited a public bathhouse, leaving his bag with the innkeeper. A Cooper recognized him from wanted posters. 2 citizens retrieved the bag. Inside were severed hands and hearts from fetuses. 8 men arrested Niers. Confronted with the evidence, he admitted his identity. Under a very uncomfortable time, he confessed to 544 murders, including 24 pregnant women. Modern historians consider this number highly unreliable. Confessions extracted through such methods were often exaggerated. On September 16, 1581, Niers was game over through a 3-day process. The first day, flesh was removed and hot oil applied. The second day, his feet were held over burning coals. The third day, he was placed on a breaking wheel. When this failed to end his life, his limbs were removed, which killed him. The Harpe Brothers. Between 1797 and 1799, settlers disappeared along the American frontier. Micajah and Wiley Harpe, known as Big and Little Harpe, operated across Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, and Mississippi. They are considered America's first documented serial killers. The 2 were cousins born in North Carolina before 1770. During the Revolutionary War, they fought for the British. After the war, they moved to frontier settlements with 3 women they had kidnapped. Unlike typical outlaws who rob for profit, the Harpes killed without clear motive. Their signature method involved cutting open victims, filling the cavities with rocks, and sinking bodies in rivers. Many corpses were never recovered. In December 1798, they killed a man named Johnson. His body floated up in the Holston River with stones in his chest. They murdered John Langford after he paid for their meal at an inn. Authorities jailed them in Danville, Kentucky, but they escaped in March 1799. The killings continued. In August 1799, Big Harpe killed his own infant daughter by smashing her head against a tree because her crying annoyed him. Later that month, they stayed at Moses Stegall's home. During the night, they killed guest Major William Love. The next morning, Big Harpe slit the throat of Stegall's 4-month-old son. When Mrs. Stegall screamed, they killed her too. A posse led by John Leiper and Moses Stegall tracked them down on August 24, 1799. Big Harpe was shot in the spine and leg. As he lay dying, he confessed to 20 murders. While Big Harpe was still conscious, Moses Stegall slowly cut off his head. The head was placed on a pole at a crossroads later known as Harpe's Head. Little Harpe escaped. He was captured years later and game overed by hanging on February 8, 1804. H. Holmes. In 1886, Herman Webster Mudgett arrived in Chicago using the alias H. Holmes. He took over a drugstore in the Englewood neighborhood. In 1887, he began constructing a 3-story building across the street. Locals called it the Castle. Holmes designed the building himself. The first floor contained shops. The second and third floors featured over 50 doors, soundproof rooms, secret passages, trapdoors, and gas lines running into sealed chambers. The basement held a dissection table, acid vats, and a large crematorium. Construction workers were fired frequently so none could learn the building's purpose. In 1891, Holmes opened the upper floors as a hotel for visitors to the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. He hired young women as employees and lured others with promises of work. Julia Connor and her daughter Pearl disappeared in 1891. Emmeline Sigrand vanished in 1892. Minnie Williams and her sister Nanny disappeared in 1893 after Holmes married Minnie for her property. The exact victim count remains unknown. Holmes used the crematorium and acid to destroy remains. When police searched the building, they found bone fragments, hair, and burned clothing, but not enough evidence to prosecute those murders. In 1894, Holmes left Chicago. He killed his business partner, Benjamin Petezel, in Pennsylvania, as part of an insurance scheme. He then killed 3 of Petezel's children. Detective Frank Geyer traced the murders and arrested Holmes in Boston. Holmes was tried in Philadelphia in October 1895 for murdering Petezel. He was found guilty. Before being game overed, he confessed to 27 murders, though some people he named were later found alive. Holmes was game overed by hanging on May 7, 1896. Albert Fish. In 1928, Albert Fish was a 58-year-old house painter in New York. On May 25th, he saw a newspaper advertisement. Edward Budd, 18, was seeking countryside work. Fish visited the Budd family in Manhattan, using the name Frank Howard. He said he was a farmer and promised to hire Edward. During the visit, he met Edward's 10-year-old sister, Grace. Days later, Fish returned and asked permission to take Grace to a birthday party. The parents agreed. The party did not exist. Fish took Grace to an abandoned house called Wisteria Cottage in Irvington, New York. He strangled her. He dismembered her body using a handsaw. The investigation continued for 6 years without resolution. In November 1934, the Budd family received an anonymous letter describing what had happened to Grace. Investigators traced the stationery to a rooming house. Detective William King waited at the location. Fish returned and was arrested on December 13, 1934. Fish confessed to killing Grace Budd. He also confessed to murdering 4-year-old Billy Gaffney in 1927 and 8-year-old Frances McDonnell. He claimed to have killed many more children, with numbers ranging from 100 to over 400. These claims could not be verified. Fish's trial began in March 1935 in White Plains, New York. The defense argued he was legally insane. The prosecution showed that Fish had carefully planned Grace Budd's kidnapping. The jury deliberated for less than 1 hour and found him guilty of first-degree murder. Albert Fish was game-overed by electric chair on January 16, 1936, at Sing Sing Prison. He was 65 years old. Andrei Chikatilo. Between 1978 and 1990, victims disappeared from bus stops and train stations across the Soviet Union. Andrei Chikatilo was a former teacher who worked as a traveling supply clerk. His job allowed him to move freely between cities in the Rostov region. Chikatilo targeted children, teenagers, and young women. He approached them at transportation stations, offering food or money. He led them to isolated forest areas or abandoned buildings. Once alone, he attacked them with a knife. After death, he performed acts on the bodies. In many cases, he removed body parts. Soviet authorities initially denied that serial killers existed in communist society. Media suppression prevented public warnings. Police investigating disappearances struggled with bureaucratic obstacles and lack of coordination between regions. In several cases, innocent men were arrested and convicted for Chikatilo's crimes. On December 22, 1978, 9-year-old Lena Zakotnova became his first confirmed victim. An innocent man, Alexander Kravchenko, was game-overed for that murder. Chikatilo continued killing. By 1990, authorities had linked 53 murders through similar patterns. On November 6, 1990, Chikatilo killed Sveta Korostik. When he emerged from the woods with blood on his face, police questioned him, but released him. Surveillance continued. On November 20th, officers arrested him. Between November 30th and December 5th, he confessed to 56 murders. Police had only documented 36 cases previously. Chikatilo's trial began April 14th, 1992. He was held in an iron cage in the courtroom. Victims' families screamed from the gallery. Throughout proceedings, Chikatilo behaved erratically. On October 15, 1992, he was found guilty of 52 murders and sentenced to death for each. Andrei Chikatilo was game-overed by a single gunshot behind the right ear on February 14, 1994 at Novocherkassk prison. Jeffrey Dahmer. Between 1978 and 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer killed 17 males. He was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1960. His first victim was 18-year-old Stephen Hicks in June 1978. Dahmer picked up the hitchhiker in Ohio, brought him home, then bludgeoned him with a dumbbell when Hicks wanted to leave. After a 9-year gap, Dahmer resumed killing in 1987 in Milwaukee. He frequented bars and bus stops, approaching young men with offers of money or alcohol. He brought them to his apartment. Once there, he drugged their drinks with sedatives. After they became unconscious, he strangled them. He performed acts on the bodies after death, then dismembered them. He kept photographs and body parts as souvenirs. Dahmer attempted crude procedures on some victims while they were unconscious, drilling holes in their skulls and injecting hydrochloric acid or boiling water into their brains. These attempts were fatal. He later stated he was trying to create compliant companions. In May 1991, 14-year-old Konorak Synthesomphone escaped from Dahmer's apartment. 3 women found him naked and bleeding. Police arrived and returned the boy to Dahmer's apartment after Dahmer claimed they were in a relationship. Officers did not investigate further. Dahmer killed Synthesomphone after they left. On July 22, 1991, Tracy Edwards escaped from Dahmer's apartment with handcuffs dangling from one wrist. He flagged down police. Officers returned to the apartment at 924 North 25th Street. Inside, they discovered photographs of dismembered bodies and human remains in the refrigerator. A search found body parts from 11 victims. Dahmer confessed to 17 murders. His trial began in 1992. He pleaded guilty, but argued he was legally insane. The jury found him sane and responsible. He received 16 consecutive life sentences. On November 28, 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver in a prison bathroom at Columbia Correctional Institution.